Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back once again to another Fallout 4 settlement build. As many of you know, we do all of our other builds on a separate character from my main one. That being the case though, my main guy has never really had a cool place to settle down at. So I thought, why not make him a sort of man cave, or in other words, a safe house. And so far, all of our other builds have been completely custom made, especially the exterior, so I thought it would be really cool to try something completely different here and make something inside the Red Rocket truck stop. Now this is a building that has a lot of stuff already inside that we didn't necessarily need, and even a couple objects that were impossible to move. So although it was kind of a challenge at first to work around those things and figure out what to turn them into, I think by the end of it, it made the build look a bit more like it actually belonged in the Fallout world, and also gave it a bit more personality. But yeah guys, I think that's enough said for now, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look. So first things first, you'll notice there are no custom walls or anything extra added to the exterior of the build besides, a few signs and whatnot. And although I could have very easily added some walls and whatnot and really made this a structure of my own exterior-wise, like I mentioned earlier, that's really not something I wanted to do. I really wanted something new, refreshing, and definitely challenging, so that's why I left the exterior as it is. Plus, overall, I just think the Red Rocket truck station has a really cool look, and I especially love that garage door on the outside. That's really one of the main reasons why I picked this location to be my man cave, if you want to call it that. Now, going into this build, I did want it to look very welcoming, yet as if it was designed for only one person to use. So it's really not a settlement that's designed for a large amount of settlers or even a small group. It's really just for me and maybe one other follower. And I think that's another reason why I really just wanted to stick to the truck stop itself and not add a whole bunch of extra buildings and whatnot. Although maybe in the future that may be something cool that we could always try. But yeah, for starters, over here to the right hand side we have the garage, which is an area that I loved already to begin with. But that being said, I still think it was missing at least a couple things that really made it my own. So I put in my best suit of power armor, a bunch more signs, kind of similar to what we saw in the diner when I made that one. And I think overall, at least in this room, it really picks up its style from all the little things. You'll see if you look hard enough, there's little toys, stacks of cash, just a lot of knickknacks that really wouldn't be worth too much to the common wastelander. But for someone like me who's kind of a collector and likes accumulating all the rare and unique items in the game, I think adding all these small details in really helped make it feel a bit more homey. And one last thing before we move on to the next room, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that all the tires and a lot of other vanilla items such as little tools are still lying around here and there, and trust me, that's not because I was too lazy to remove them and replace them with something else, but it was rather because I just felt like they looked as if they really belonged here. It really does give it that garage look. And overall, I feel like it's an awesome place to just come in, fix up some power armor, or some weapons. Hell, even a car if you feel like you could get one of those working. Now moving on, we also have another entrance, or entrances I should say, that would be a bit more suitable for visitors or guests to come in through. And although I mentioned earlier that this build is definitely more suited towards just me and maybe another follower. Holy crap, what is Kiri doing up there? But yeah, as I was saying, me and another follower just to hang out at. I still have added in a few design elements that would definitely be a bit more appealing for, having some visitors come over and maybe just keeping them entertained, such as the bar here. Say you want to just kick back and have a Nuka-Cola together, or maybe just tell each other a few stories. Speaking of stories, we also have all these comic books and other sorts of magazines that maybe you could sit back and read while you wait out the radiation storm that's passing through. And there's also just a lot of little cool design elements, like the bobblehead stand, which, how many more do we need? Looks like about 5 more, and then we should be complete on that. And there's also a lot of cool things, just to, really make this my own. I've added in some weapon racks, which I've placed some of my most prized weapons on. But throughout my builds, I will try and add a lot of backstory and just, I don't know, I guess some style? What the hell is Kiri doing? Alright, we'll ignore her for now, because she's going all sorts of crazy. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I always love adding backstory and just some life to my build. So that's why on this table, you not only have a gun and some ammo, but also some bottles laid out downrange that, I don't know, if you're feeling bored, you could take some shots at. And I felt like stopping there just wouldn't be enough, so there's also a stopwatch in case maybe you wanted to keep track of how fast you could shoot down the bottles. Maybe try to beat your own records every now and then. And in case you have a rifle or something and want to shoot all the way back to the hills. We've also got this table off to the left that maybe the spotter would sit at. And that's why you see the mod case right there, which you could imagine contains a sniper scope or something that they could use to look through and spot where your bullet hits. Now, believe it or not, these tables were actually here to begin with, and they were originally something I wanted to remove, but for some reason, they couldn't be deleted. And at first, I just had no idea what to put here. I was thinking about adding, you know, some plates and drinks here, although I already had a couple more areas like that throughout the rest of the build, so having yet another area like that was really just not an option, which meant somehow coming up with this idea to go here, and having it be right here next to the window was, in the end, I think the perfect location for it. Now moving on to the rest of the build, you'll see there are, like I said, quite a few other locations where you could just sit down and enjoy a meal, such as this booth over here, which is conveniently decorated with the two-headed rad stag head. Speaking of those, there actually is quite a few other little animal parts scattered around the build here and there. And I think the new Wasteland Workshop DLC is actually going to add quite a few more, so that'll be cool to maybe add in a couple here and there. But also in terms of areas where you could sit down and enjoy a meal or a drink, we also have the bar here, which we did briefly cover just a little bit ago, but there's also a ham radio here, which you could imagine I would use to invite some other friendly Wastelanders over for a beer or something, or maybe try and radio everyone out there and attempt to set up some kind of a trading post. And now moving on to the back of the build, you'll notice we have somewhat of a living room. I'll be honest, it's not much, but it'll have to do for now. I can honestly admit a lot of this build really isn't based on functionality, but rather just kind of aesthetics and whatnot. And although I did want it to be, you know, sort of functional in terms of storing all my wares and whatnot, I really, in the end, more so needed it to be a place that felt cozy and just kind of welcoming towards, I guess, my style of play. Now, although the build's not entirely functional, there are still some locations, such as the kitchen, which can actually be pretty helpful, especially in terms of storing loads and loads of food. I'm sure you could survive weeks off the amount we have stocked up right now. But it's not all food and storage here. There's also some nice decorations on all the walls, just to kind of brighten the atmosphere and just make it a bit more appealing. And I gotta say, if you're struggling to make the insides of your builds look better, I can't stress enough how much wall decorations will help. Now that being said, you can't just throw up a bunch of random crap. You kind of gotta find a nice balance between too few and too many items. And although that may be kind of tricky at first, I'm sure after a decent amount of practice and trial and error, you should get the hang of it within no time. And lastly, we have what I think I can say is my favorite room out of the whole build. You guessed it, it's my bedroom, which I tried to convert into some kind of a recording studio in a way. Not sure how well that worked out, but who knows, maybe eventually my guy could become some sort of a radio host, maybe for something called Raider Radio, I don't know, kind of a catchy name. But yeah, here we have a little microphone, some of those sound panels just to improve the quality, or at least try, and there's also some knickknacks here and there, just to spice up the room and really make it my own. You see, if I ever get bored, I've got some magazines that I could read. There's also my favorite bobblehead, which goes to my favorite skill line, the luck one. And there's a lot of other decorations throughout the wall and even some on the floors, such as the Jangles the Moon Monkey. Once again, throughout the whole build, at least for this one, I really just tried to pile it up with awesome things I've found throughout my travels. And I think if you're going for a very personal build like this, that's really something you want to try out. And this here, I don't think I could have been any more lucky than this. Somehow the poster, that's kind of a preset here. In fact, I don't even think you can remove it. But anyways, for some reason it had a tear in it, which just so happened to be a perfect section for the shelf to go into. So yeah, that worked out quite nicely. But other than that, we've got little goodies scattered all around, some extra bottle caps. You can see I brought the American flag from my home back in Sanctuary over to this place. There's also some fun looking posters up on the wall, and probably one of the comfiest beds in the wasteland. Not only that, but there's some storage here and there, including a safe for some of my more valuable items. And last but not least, we have the teddy bears on the ground, playing checkers. Not sure why I decided to put that in, but they're there, and once again, just kind of adds some unique style to the build. But anyways guys, that is going to do it for today. I know it was quite a bit different from some of the other stuff we've been making, but hopefully it was kind of a nice refreshing change. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought down in the comments. Also, if you've got any ideas for some stuff we could build in the future, I would love to hear those. And once again, thanks for watching guys, and as always, I will see you in the next one.